What is going on, Northstar Nation? Welcome to the Northstar Network presented by CNS Athletics. My name is Giovanni Heater, and today on the show we have Athletic Director, Mr. Tim Bednarski. Mr. Bednarski, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thanks for coming on the show. For those that do not know, Mr. Bednarski is my boss as well as everybody in the athletic department. So he's the big man and definitely a special guest to have today. So me and Mr. Bednarski are going to really give the rundown, talk about everything that happened this fall, some of the major success that the team saw, and just everything that took place during these controversial and very difficult times. We were still able to see some fall sports action. Then we'll take a look at the upcoming winter season, what's to come with that, what is to be expected, some precautionary details, what the section is talking about, and some of their new press releases. We'll take a look at the fall two sports. You're talking football, you're talking volleyball, and much more. And then we'll take a little bit of a look at what's to be expected this upcoming spring. So thank you once again, Mr. Bednarski, and we'll dive right into it.
Okay, can I say something before you start?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
First, I want to thank you for all you've done for the community and the fall sports, doing your play-by-play on the NFHS network. But secondly, I haven't been honest with you about why we're doing this show, okay? Today, the show is a little bit about you and a thank you from me. I was able, with help from Coach Wilbur, to have a special guest join us today. And so you're going to be pretty excited. A couple weeks ago, you were on the CNY Central, and you had talked about somebody that inspired you. So Miss Beth Mowins is going to join us today, and we're going to see how good of a sportscaster you are and interview and put you on the spot. So she's going to be joining us any second now, and I'm pretty excited to have her and see one of the people that you admire that's done some professional and college level broadcasting. So she should be joining us very shortly.
I don't know what to say, Mr. Bednarski. Thank you so much. And I plan on saying at the end of the show a huge thank you to you for, everything that you've done, because every opportunity, all the play-by-play, every video I've made, anything, it's all because you've supported me along the way. Gotten any equipment, anything. You've just been, it's not possible without you. So I really owe it all to you, and I thank you so much. And this is an incredible surprise.
You've set the bar high for the students coming up behind you. So it's going to be exciting. So I can't wait till she joins us here, and hopefully any minute now she'll be in.
Awesome. Well, I guess until she gets here, should we dive into some of the things to be expected upcoming, or should we kind of wait it out? I can pause the meeting.
No, we're good. We're good. We could talk a little bit about, tonight we have a big field hockey game, 12-0, taking on ESM, and it should be exciting to see if these girls can finish out the season undefeated.
Yeah, huge game matchup tonight. You can catch it on the NFHS network, but the girls are 12-0. They're coming off of a big win on the road at Cortland, and the interesting thing about that game is, and we have our guest. How are you, Mrs. Mowins?
She's on a little bit of mute.
What's going on, Gio?
How are you? Thank you so much for being here. This is an incredible surprise.
You are taking the world by storm, my friend. I couldn't miss this.
Thank you. Like I said, it's all thanks to Mr. Bednarski for everything that he's done. So thank you.
Well, you know what? It starts with the dream and some desire and a lot of determination, and obviously you're putting in all the hard work, and I love to see it. What are you doing? You got a full home kit set up, your home studio?
Yeah, Mr. Bednarski lent me a backdrop, so we're all set up here, and then on the other side of the room is my SU setup, so it's cool. I kind of take over the basement, and it's turned into the studio. So.
That was the delay. We apologize. His banner wouldn't stay up apparently. So.
Oh yeah, you got to get used to all those little quirks now that you're working from home. That is fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How'd the Syracuse game go this weekend?
Yeah, it went good. I will say that calling football by yourself, probably the most challenging thing I've done. Field hockey, I've done it by myself, or soccer. It moves quickly. It never really stops, especially at the high school level. And it's a lot of fun when you get someone else in the booth. I've had the opportunity to have a couple of friends or Mr. Vanette, who's a soccer coach, in the booth. So it's always fun to have someone. But doing football alone was a challenge because there's commercial breaks. There's a lot of stoppage in the game of football you just got to make the best out of it. I looked at some scores across the country. I always found things to talk about, but it was a lot of fun. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, you got to, in those instances, right, you got to bring your own juice. And like Dabo Sweeney says, you got to bring your own guts.
Yes.
So, Gio, you're on the spot now. We'll see what kind of interviewer you are. Any questions you want to ask?
Mrs. Mowins?
Yes.
Gosh, I wish I would have prepared some questions before. I guess, one thing I've always wondered, because there's not much out there about it, is, what was your time at CNS like? Obviously, after you studied broadcasting, and then you went on to graduate school at Newhouse at Syracuse, and you're the first woman to call Monday Night Football. I mean, the biggest stage possible. You've been there, and you're a huge inspiration to me. But I guess talk a little bit about your time at CNS in my shoes.
Are you writing my biography in your spare time? I love it. Well, you know what? Just like with Mr. Bednarski, I was blessed to have some amazing people around me. So my dad was a teacher and a basketball coach. And so I kind of had an in with, the ability to sort of roam around and pick the brains of a lot of the teachers and the athletic directors and coaches during my time there. So I was, like you, trying to get a head start. I was the PA announcer for some of the other sports when I wasn't playing. I remember when, the football team over at Archie Hall Stadium at what is now the junior high, being up there. My dad was working the clock with John Dennison was up there with us, and I was on the PA calling games on Friday nights, and I can still remember the chill in the air walking all those steps up to the top. And just starting to live the dream. And I got some great advice from the people around me to do a lot of reading and writing. And so I was actually an English major and then went to Syracuse to get my master's. And I think that's the other thing that we have in town, is we're lucky to be around the greatest, school for journalism and broadcast journalism in the world. So that's always a bonus to be able to sort of pick and choose opportunities to work up on the Hill as well.
Awesome. I guess another question that I would have would be, what if you could weigh the importance, is it that degree that gets you there? Like, how were you able to make these connections and essentially get to where you are? Is it a thing where your tape's that good, people like you? Like, what is the weighing of importance, your degree or your experience?
I would say it's probably 33% what you're learning as you go along. It's 33% those experiences that you get outside the classroom when you're actually working in the field, or even if it's working in your basement, but you're working on your craft. And then it's 33% the people around you, because it's still a very much a people business, and it's who you know and the friends and relationships that you make, and the sort of understanding that it could be somebody that's in class with you that you'll be working alongside your entire career, or they might be doing the hiring one day. So the importance, I think, of those relationships, finding mentors, and then as you work your way up, mentoring other people behind you, and being a good teammate, I think is probably a big part of that sort of equation, that math, if you will. Math isn't my strong suit, Gio. I was an English major, but I think 33 gets us close to 100.
Math is not my strong suit either, so it's cool to hear you say that. Now, so what were you able to do during this quarantine time? Obviously, super unexpected. The business of sports broadcasting and sports media as a whole kind of took a hit because sports sports stopped. So what were you able to do to not only stay fresh at home, but drive out content, still continue to do what you love, keep that happiness, and then eventually remain ready for when sports did return, and now you're calling college football again?
Yeah, so I think it was an adjustment, right, and adapting on the fly for all of us. And it's amazing, I think, to see how this will change not only our industry, but every industry, now that we have proven that you can work from home. that we have the technology and the ability to set up home studios in our basements and in our third spare bedroom. So I think that actually is where we are heading, the ability to call games not necessarily on site. I hope that we still have an opportunity when things get back to somewhat normal that we will be able to travel. But I'm guessing it's probably going to be a lot more from home or a lot more calling games from studios. And so I, like most of us, was living on Zoom calls a lot, and actually taking the time to get in a lot of reading and to catch up on some things. And now once we're back, I'm sure you experienced this, Gio. I find myself talking to myself a lot, just practicing my craft out loud. And my husband is looking at me like, are you talking to me, or are you just talking your play-by-play stuff right now? I'm like, I'll use your name if I'm talking directly to you. Otherwise, just assume I'm honing the craft and taking care of the vocal cords.
Absolutely. Now, can you talk a little bit about, you have one of the most unique circumstances, and you've really set the foundation for what women in this business are going to be able to do in the future and have continued to do. Not only the first woman to call an NFL primetime Monday Night Football game, but all across the board as a play-by-play caller. I mean, it's pretty much you and Doris Burke are the big two that everyone knows, and not just a studio host, being on site, calling play-by-play. So how has that grown, and how were you really able to force your way into that spot? I have to assume that it's a lot of, never giving up, never taking no for an answer, and the drive to want to be there.
Yeah, it goes back to my mom when I asked her when I was a little girl watching Phyllis George on the old NFL Today show, who was the first woman really to be involved in big-time TV sports. And my mom simply said, yes, you can. So anytime there was an obstacle along the way, I remembered my mom's words, yes, you can. It also helped, Gio, that I really did not have a fallback position. There wasn't anything else I wanted to do. So, if I wanted to just say, I'm done with this and try something else, there really was no something else. So when there were some tough times or obstacles to overcome, you had to figure out a way to get through it, over it, around it, under it, whatever it was. And so some of the things that I picked up as an athlete at CNS served me my whole life, and figuring out ways to get it done, that sort of point guard mentality that I developed, at Allen Road Elementary, and then Roxborough Middle, and then on to CNS. You just have to figure out, what your path is. And then when there are forks in the road, or when there's an obstacle, okay, how do I get back on the path beyond this obstacle and just keep pushing forward? And there were times where, hey, why don't you be a sideline reporter? Why don't you be an analyst? And I would take those opportunities just to keep my foot in the door, just to maintain relationships, but always knowing that at some point I would be bugging them to let me get back to play-by-play. And eventually that was something that worked for me.
So when did that big break come for you? Was there a specific moment that you kind of had made it? I mean, after your time at Syracuse, I'm sure you were involved with W8ER and Citrus TV, if that was a thing at the time at Syracuse. But when did that first big moment come? You get the call from ESPN or a major network, and you're on television or radio or whatever it may be.
Yeah, so I was working in local radio and local TV for probably – it must have been like 3 or 4 years after I graduated. And then I was fortunate that women's sports started to appear on the landscape a lot more on television. And they, hey, if there is a woman that can call play-by-play, well, let's use her on a lot of these women's sports. And so I got a call from the old Big East network. They started doing a game of the week. And that appeared all across the Northeast. And it was right around the time that Gino Auriemma was cranking up the UConn women's program. And so I got a call from public broadcasting in the state of Connecticut. They started airing a lot of the women's UConn games. And of course, that is seen in Bristol, Connecticut. And ESPN called and said, hey, we want you to start doing some more of our women's sports. And probably once I started on the Women's College World Series, the first one I covered was 1994. That's when things started to come together, and I had an opportunity to call volleyball championships and soccer championships. And And certainly one of the highlights of my entire career was when I worked the Final Four with Doris and Holly Rowe. And sure enough, it was our old North Star, Brianna Stewart, playing for Connecticut against Syracuse in the national championship. And that's a night that I will never forget, because I saw in the stands a lot of the old Syracuse alumni that I used to play pickup games with up at Manley Fieldhouse when it was still a basketball court over the summer. So a lot of great memories in that moment right there.
Mm.
Now, this is probably going to sound totally weird that I know the Syracuse games that you've called, but I watch every Cuse game, and, I take note because I pass you in the hallway. You're on the wall of distinction, and I always just kind of give a nod like, I want to be there someday. And you came from CNS, and it's just been an inspiration to me. So Syracuse and Florida State a couple of years ago in the Dome, and then the big one against NC State when we beat them. They're a ranked team. That's the first time Syracuse is ranked bowl game. But what does it mean to you? You talked a little bit about it when you got to come call the Final Four, where Brianna Stewart came from CNS and Syracuse is playing in it. But what does it mean to you to call a game from your hometown and your alma mater as well? Is that something special?
It's the most special place. I love when the assignments come out and there's a basketball game at the Dome or a football game at the Dome and a chance to go home. And I actually will, when I do come home, usually stay with friends in North Syracuse and Clay and Cicero. I still have, great relationships and friendships with my old buddies from there. I love the chance to, see Chuck Wilbur. And talk some smack. I'm in a fantasy football league with Chuck, so that's always a treat. It's what really gives me a special feeling is to know that there are young men and women like yourself that you do see the picture there on the wall, and it does mean something, and you are an inspiration to the generation or the second generation that comes after you. And I thank people like Tim for making that such a big deal, and for, this whole idea of if you see it, then you can believe it and you can do it. And I'm thrilled to see so many student athletes from CNS that have gone on to, professional stardom and world championships and gold medals and Super Bowl rings and World Series trophies. It's just fabulous. And, in our world, it's great to see somebody like you coming up through the ranks in broadcasting as well.
Thank you. You have no idea how much that means to me. And now my plan is to take this and someday do the exact same thing. I'm big on paying it forward, and the kids that look up to you behind you, giving everything back to them, showing them the path, doing everything you can for them. So your help and your leadership has showed me how important that can be for me down the road. And I hope someday we'll call a game together, maybe.
You got it. I'm ready. Hey, congratulations on everything, Gio, and best of luck to you as you move forward.
Thank you so much. And thank you again, Mr. Bednarski. This has been an absolutely incredible surprise. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Beth, for taking the time to do this today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Tim.
Good luck this week.
Stay warm. I'm in sunny Southern California this morning. The sun's out.
It is 70 today here in Central New York, so we're going to take it and enjoy it while we can.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
Well, have a great rest of the day, and thanks again.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Bye now.
Wow, Mr. B, that was incredible. Thank you.
You're welcome, Gio. You deserve it, and just wanted to give something back to you for all you've done for the athletic department this fall, and all 3 years while you've been here at CNS. So needless to say, we're not really talking about the fall sports, although we could set up another show. This was just a little surprise for you, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to do it. And I thank Ms. Mowins again, and obviously Coach Wilbur has a connection with her, so that he helped make this happen. So congrats, and I guess at this point we can end the show.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I stopped doing my homework for like an hour to do some research and prepare for this thing, but that was still an incredible surprise.
I know, I felt bad. I wanted to give you a heads up. But I will say your questions were outstanding on the spot, and you did a great job interviewing her. And what a great story that is. And you got to you got to interview Beth Mowins. So that's a pretty cool day.
Once in a lifetime. Again, thank you so much. And hey, for anybody that watches, though, go check out on the NFHS network tonight. The undefeated field hockey team is taking on ESM. So that's our little bit of fall sports action. And I guess I'll close out the show, right, Mr. B?
You got it. Go Northstars.
All right, go Northstars. For Mr. Tim Bednarski, for the legendary Beth Mowins, my name's Giovanni Heater. This has been a broadcast by CNS Athletics and the North Star Network. We're out.